What up, YouTube? Today we're going to be doing an EGR valve, Serpentine Belt, and Idler Pulley on a Ford Ranger 4.0. Stay tuned. But first, I wanted to announce we've got some Andy's Auto merch now. We got a hat, a shirt, a sticker, a coffee mug, and even a hoodie. You can find these items listed below the video, or you can go to my channel page and you can find them under the store section. If you're interested in supporting the channel while also getting some pretty cool gear for yourself, go ahead and check those out. Now back to the video. Alright, so we got the hood open now. Here's our engine. And I can't think of a vehicle that has a more accessible EGR valve. So we're going to go ahead and tackle that first. We're going to go ahead and loosen this nut. We'll probably spray it down with something first. We got to remove this vacuum hose here. We'll probably pull the engine cover off. And then there's a couple bolts that holds it on. We may have to remove it from here instead. I'm not really sure. We'll see when we get there. But I'm going to go ahead and spray this down with some penetrating oil and try to get it loosened up first. Alright, so we'll let that sit on there for a second. I don't know if these are 7 or 8. Looks like they're 7s. So we'll go ahead and get that removed as well. Looks like mine has a couple screws, but yours may have a couple more. I guess there is a third one. I thought there would be. Okay. Try to get these out of here before I drop them. And we'll get this out of the way. Now I'm going to grab a large wrench and try to break that pipe free. Alright, so you can get a pipe wrench or an adjustable wrench like this. Go ahead and break it free. I already kind of did that before filming it just to make it a little easier to do with one hand. And I'm sure that penetrating oil helps out a bit as well. We're going to go ahead and get this out of there and then figure out if we need to loosen the bolts on the intake or just the ones on the EGR valve. Alright, so I went ahead and removed the vacuum hose off the top, and now that the nut is loose, we can actually pull this back just a little bit. So I'm going to see if we can kind of move it to the side like that and get at those two 10mm bolts and just pull that sucker out of there. So I went ahead and broke those bolts loose with a ratchet just because they are a bit rusty and I didn't want to potentially break them. Now we're going to bring them out the rest of the way. Like that one. And that one. Now we'll pull this off of there. Alright, so I was able to just slide it out of there pretty easily by just taking those two bolts on the EGR itself off, not the ones that bolt up to the intake. So there's the old EGR valve and the gasket that goes with it. You can kind of see inside of there for those that care. And then now we're going to go ahead and start putting on the new one. You need some new headlights for your vehicle? How about some turn signals? Some that are actually very bright. Click the link in the description below and check out Auxito LEDs. And if you use code AndysAuto, you'll get 15% off your order. Now back to the video. Alright, here's our new valve with the new gasket put in place there. Kind of looks a little crusty for being a brand new one, but the inside still looks good, so I'm sure it'll work just fine. Now we're going to go ahead and put it in place. Alright, we got it in position. I've got the 10mm bolts tightened down, and I did go ahead and finish them off with a ratchet just to make sure we don't break anything. So now we got the vacuum hose installed. We got this in by a thread or a few, and then we'll go ahead and snug this pipe back up to it, and we'll get started on the belt and idler pulley. Alright, now that we got that all finished up, we're going to go ahead and move over to the belt here, which would help if this piece was removed. So we're going to go ahead and take the wiring harness out of it. We're going to pull this tube out of it from right here. You're going to loosen this clamp and this clamp, and we should be able to pull it out of there. Set it to the side. Now our belt tensioner is down there. It's going to have a 3/8 drive square cut hole in the bottom of it. So we're going to go ahead and get a ratchet or a belt tool so we can relieve the tension from the belt. Alright, so now we got our 3/8 ratchet installed down there. And just a little tip for you, if you have an all metal ratchet that doesn't have like a rubbery handle on the end, you can find whatever socket fits on it, put an extension in there. Now you got a much longer ratchet. So now we need to pull this counterclockwise, which releases the tension from the belt. And while I'm holding this, I'm going to use my other hand to slide it out from underneath this idler pulley. Alright, and then once you got your old belt off, you want to go ahead and route the new belt around all of the pulleys except for the idler pulley, which is the one we're going to go ahead and replace here. Even if you're not replacing it, I'd still just leave it off of this one for now. If you're not sure how you took it off, you can look at how mine is. It goes around the crank down there. Or you can also go ahead and look right here. Thankfully this vehicle was made back in the days when they still gave you some maintenance and repair information such as belt routing underneath the hood. So next thing we need to do is get a 15mm, I believe it is, and we'll go ahead and loosen up and remove this idler pulley. There we go, got that loose. We'll go ahead and spin it out, and we'll put on the new one. Alright, so here's our old pulley, and let me grab the new one here. You can see they look the same. Then we want to take this bolt and washer, put it through the center there, just like that. Make sure that the rubber piece gets centered up in the center bore. Then we'll take this and screw it onto the back side till it goes all the way down, and then we're going to bolt it back up to the engine. Alright, and then once you get that new pulley bolted in, you can put your ratchet back in the tensioner, turning it counterclockwise again, and you can just push the belt right under the idler pulley. Now we're going to put this air duct back on. Alright, now we got that on there. We got our tube back in. We got that wiring harness back on. We got both clamps connected. Now we're going to go ahead, take this engine cover and place it back on there, making sure all of the bolt holes line up. We'll go ahead and screw these down, and we'll be all finished up. Alright, and that's going to be the end of the video for today. Hope you all enjoyed. If you learned something, please leave a like below. If you've ever done an EGR valve or a belt or a pulley yourself, leave a comment below and let me know how that went for you. Otherwise, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. We hit the 1,000 mark. Now we're aiming for that big 2,000. So that'd really help me out a lot. Otherwise, I will see you next time.